Oh, I am so excited that Jackie is able to join the Natural Health Collaborative and our menopause masterclass. Now, I'm going to ask her some questions, but first, I want her to give a little background.
Oh yeah, hi. So I'm Jackie from Jacqueline Pendleton Coaching, and lovely to be on this masterclass today. So I've actually um pretty much built my programs for my own issues, my own things that I've gone through. So I'm work with stress and autoimmune diseases, as well as holistic movement for women 40 plus who are starting to go through perimenopause, menopause, and beyond.
Okay. So, Jackie, you've been in the fitness industry for over 38 years. What first led you to focus on women in their 40s and beyond to start to go through menopause and the importance of rebuilding the body from the inside out?
So pretty much I was working with athletes before I actually ended up burning out myself. Around about 2015, I started gaining weight. I gained about 15 kilos and a racing heart rate from stress, and I couldn't really understand what was going on. And this is where I pretty much built my program from that so that then I can empower women that there is something going on. And when it comes to menopause, this is what happens. Your body pretty much doesn't have a sense of humor, it just does what it does and adapts. So it's just really understanding that.
So, many women going through menopause notice sudden changes in their body, like belly weight, stiffness, lower back pain. What is actually happening inside their body during this stage of life?
So, what I've noticed myself, and with working with hundreds of women that are going through menopause, the ones that have usually got issues with stress, and this could be from childhood, it could have been a trauma from childhood. And basically, their body is adapting, adapting, adapting. And then when they end up with the hormone imbalance, with with perimenopause, menopause, pretty much then what happens is that then the body doesn't start to work as it should. So they start to end up with aches and pains, aching joints, fatigue, bloating, weight loss or weight gain, and they have the symptoms which are menopausal, but they're worse than somebody possibly who hasn't had all of that stress. And this is basically from my own issues that I've gone through, as well as working with hundreds of women who have got stress issues.
So many women um, are, you're often talking about the body getting stuck in a holding pattern during stress. Can you explain what that means and how stress impacts the body's ability to function properly?
So when I talk about a holding pattern, a lot of people end up with back issues and they end up going to a chiropractor, an osteopath, a physiotherapist, etc., specialist. And so what happens is they do an adjustment and it doesn't stay and it gets stuck in that holding pattern. And this will be from, injuries that the person has had, muscle imbalances, if they've done things, sports like gymnastics, or they've used one side quite a lot. And so when it comes to stress, what is affected in the inside metabolically also then affects the structure. So the structural, the muscles, the ligaments, the tendons, and everything else. And so if they've got stress issues and the stress is not being reduced, the body gets stuck in that holding pattern and it can't actually readjust itself. And so they're constantly going to the chiropractor, the osteo, the physiotherapist, and doing an adjustment, but then it doesn't hold. So they get stuck into that holding pattern of doing it wrong way because, as I said just before, your body doesn't have a sense of humor. It just adapts to the situation.
So, one of the concepts you teach is the inner unit or the inner core. For those who may not be familiar with that term, and I know I'm not, what exactly is the inner core and why is it so important for women over 40?
So the inner core is basically if you've had children generally, secondary to childbirth or pain, the core muscles will switch off from the inside out. And most people will go and do strength training at the gym and do sit-ups or etc. to be able to strengthen the core. But that's why I liken it to a car, like an analogy of a car. So like a chassis of a car. Okay. So the chassis is the inner unit and the body of the car is the outer unit. So the inner unit would be pelvic floor, TVA, diaphragm, back muscles, like a non-surgical corset from the belly button round the back to the belly button. Does that make sense? And then the
Oh,
body of the car are the prime movers, are the big muscles, your obliques, your abdominal muscles, your back muscles. And so if the chassis is not stable, say for instance, if the chassis of your car was rusted out, you probably wouldn't get down the road. So as we age, even from your 30s, you've got to think about getting a strong structure so that then when you're lifting things, you don't end up with back pain, you become more mobile, and it helps increase so from the strengthening from the inside out. So that's what inner unit or inner core is those small, finer muscles that you have to train from the brain down. So it's quite a specialized thing, you can't really build. It's almost a bit also like a frame. Like I've got clients who are builders, you've got a frame of a house. If you don't have a strong frame and you start to put building materials on it, it's just going to fall down like a pack of cards. So it's the same as your body. You've got to have a strong column because you can't load on a weak column.
well, that makes sense. Now, how does chronic stress during menopause affect the inner core and breathing patterns?
So basically, we tend to sort of breathe shallow anyway as we get older. I mean, if you look at little kids, nobody really breathes through their diaphragm or belly breathes. If you look at little kiddies, they breathe through their diaphragm. As we get older, we tend to shallow breathe and we can end up with forward head posture where we have our head forward and develop a dowager's hump on the back of our neck. And so with stress, because the core and the gut are on the same neurological loop or switchboard, so if the car's not working, it affects the gut and the metabolism and everything else. And obviously, then if somebody doesn't have a strong core, their chest comes forward, their head comes forward. Whereas if you're breathing correctly and you're strengthening your core, you actually do start to stand up straight. And then you're more stable, you're more even. Does that make sense, that?
That does make sense. I hadn't thought about it that way. So, many women are just told to do more AB exercises if they want to strengthen their core. Why is that advice often missing the real problem?
Because the fact is, if somebody has had a prolapse or they've had even cancer, they need to strengthen those inner core muscles. So it's a bit like fixing the body of the car or the house externally and then having the weak frame. So this is where, and generally it just seems to be the thing in the fitness industry that they go and do abdominal work, ab work, when they go and do that. Um, and so it's just coming back to you've got to strengthen the inner core before you can strengthen the outer core. It comes before it. That
So,
strong column.
AB exercises are particularly about the abdominal muscles.
Abdominal exercises, yes. So they are particularly about the abdominal exercise, but generally you'll go to a gym or somewhere or online and they'll be doing the sit-ups, but generally you need to strengthen the lower abdominals first, especially if you've had children or you've got scar tissue. I mean, I've had 3 cesareans and a fractured tailbone on delivery, so I understand all of these things have been built on my own issues.
So many women have had children or C-sections or injuries early in life. So how can these experiences affect the inner core and the posture in later years?
Well, generally, it reveals itself as, they can't run for a bus or they can't jump on a trampoline or something like that. They can't really play with their kids or their grandkids because they're going to feel like they're going to pee themselves. Okay, so you've actually got to strengthen those muscles. It's not just about strengthening pelvic floor. your body works in synergy. So it's really about, and that is something generally after children, you tend to get that weakness, but then it sort of shows up in sciatic problems. So sciatica, a hip hike, uh, rotator cuff, so shoulder issues, neck issues, foot issues, knee issues. It all comes from the core out.
Okay. So if someone suspects that their inner core isn't functioning properly, what are some of the common signs? So you kind of did a up and down, but is there a way for people to keep that in mind?
I think the thing is that the signs are these byproducts of the problem. Okay, so and the byproducts of the problem are, especially when you start to go through menopause and you've got that the hormone imbalance, everything is going to not start to is going to not work as well. Okay, so the I said is looking for the signs, not being able to hold themselves, when they're doing activities, feeling like they get a little bit of incontinence, having back issues, sciatic issues. Those are the sort of signs that they would see. Um, and I suppose starting with deep breathing exercises can help to start to retrain that inner core. So that's what I do with what I do is I start to retrain through breathing, and then so whether they can open the chest. So the only reason why somebody wouldn't be able to open the chest if they've got ankylosing spondylitis, which is arthritis of the rib cage, so therefore they can't actually expand the chest. That would be the only reason why they might have a problem there.
Oh, okay. So, you also seem to be talking a lot about posture as we age. So, how does the posture tend to deteriorate as women move into their 40s and 50s?
Well, the thing is that your body, going back to the sense of humor, that your body doesn't have a sense of humor, your body becomes more rigid. Like I've got clients I work with that are in their 80s at the moment, and and I've said to them, as you get older, your body becomes rigid because it's trying to stabilize itself. So you're constantly having to work against it. It's almost a bit of a necessary evil, trying to stay healthy and fit. So obviously you start to get forward head posture. So that's why you've got to strengthen the core from the inside out posturally to be able so that then the extremities work well. So as we age, yes, you become more rigid. If the core is weak, you've got ongoing injuries, you've got muscle imbalances, and so therefore, and then you end up with the forward head posture and the dowager's hump. So to be able to flex the neck and get back into a straight alignment so that then your body can stand straight, right? You've got to be able to start to strengthen those inner core muscles and then work on the rest as you go forward. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think it does. But in your programs, you usually start with some kind of posture analysis and diagnosis. Why is that so important to access the body before jumping into exercise programs?
Because the thing is that exercise is prescription, a bit like a drug. So you would go to a doctor and they would say, okay, what's going on? And you'd say, oh, it's this or that. And then he would say, okay, well, here's this medication. Well, it's the difference? It's the same with exercise. You've actually got to do an assessment. And I look at other people's reports, so the chiropractor, the doctor, the physio, the osteo, and I can see from that what is going on from a muscular point of view. But I always start with the inner core. And then from there, a postural analysis. I mean, sometimes even just with you, if you're a little bit higher up, I could do a postural analysis right now, just from you sitting there. You want to see me watching TV when I watch the presenters on TV. And I've actually taught my clients, even they notice other people, their friends and things, because I've done a lot with posture. It all starts with posture, having good posture. So when you're doing the gardening, or you're doing the vacuuming and you're bending over, you're not actually hanging from your ligaments. You actually have got a strong core. It acts as a locking mechanism. So posture is everything. Good posture. It's not just about standing up straight. It's about working the body in the correct way, how it's supposed to.
So, what are some of the health problems poor pasture can create if it isn't addressed early?
Well, I mean, I've noticed even when you walk around, you only have to walk around the supermarket or the store, and you notice people, is they stand, your body is designed to stand up straight. So therefore, so what happens is your head starts to go forward, your chest follows, and then you end up with the hump, and then therefore you're going forward more, your back's loading more, your legs are having to work harder, your feet are having to work harder. There's so many different variables. It's about addressing it early.
Mhm,
But I mean, I'm working with people who are in their 80s and we're still managing to fix it. It's about keeping up that mobility because being
mhm.
healthy and fit is a means to an end. So you can make it round the supermarket, you can put your luggage in the overhead locker or on a bus or whatever, and you can enjoy your life.
So, what role does breathing play in rebuilding the inner core and helping the nervous system move out of that stress holding pattern?
So with breathing, and I've used this a lot with women who are going through menopause, it calms the nervous system down, increases blood flow to the gut. So going back to the gut and the core on the same switchboard or neurological loop. Okay. It opens the chest. It just does so many things. And the diaphragm, so when I said about the inner core, diaphragm, pelvic floor, TVA, back muscles are on the same neurological loop. So to be able to get the gut and everything to work correctly, you need to be breathing through your belly or breathing through your diaphragm, which is something that I actually teach as part of that strategy.
Well, that's a very helpful thing to teach because I know
Yeah.
that people do not breathe and they don't realize how much that affects their entire well being. So, once the inner core is reactivated in your program, how do functional movements help rebuild strength and stability for everyday life?
So once we actually get that inner core working, obviously, because if you fell over as we get older, you might fall over, you might trip over and things like that. And so your body needs to be able to stabilize. Okay, so when you get the inner core working, well, then you can start to strengthen more of those muscles. So, like exercises, functional movement of rotation. So, you put in your shopping in your car because we tend to do it on one side. So it's about strengthening the other side. Okay, so that then we get strong in all areas. So strengthening that core first and then building on that so that then functionally you'll be able to lift up your groceries, you'll be able to get into your car without injury. It's really about prevention.
Oh, okay. So, when a woman who is basically feeling overwhelmed and unsure where to start, what is the first small step they can take to reconnect with their bodies again?
I think the thing is obviously understanding, starting with one or two things, because you can become overwhelmed. There's so much rubbish on the internet. I know, but there is. It's just it's one person says this, one person says that. I mean, I think it's just about re-engaging that core, and I have a couple of key exercises where they just lay on the ground, they put their hands level with their belly button underneath, behind their back, on the floor, with their legs at a 90-degree angle, and then basically just pulling their belly button back to their spine and starting to activate their lower abdominals. So
So,
that would be one exercise to start
so someone is laying flat on the ground,
with
and
their
are you
knees
having
bent.
them and their knees bent? So their knees
Yeah.
are up, right? So are they trying to do a sit up at all?
No, so they're laying on the ground, their knees are bent.
Hmm.
Okay, so they're not up off the ground, they're not a tabletop. They've actually got their
And
feet on the ground, but their
no
knees are
pillow
bent. No,
or
no.
anything
So
like
they're
that.
laid flat on the ground.
Okay.
They're putting their hands or they're putting a towel in the small of their back, and that will be dependent on whether they have a big sway like an arch or whether they've got a flat back. It will depend on that. Okay. And then what we want to do is we want to tilt their pelvis and pull their belly button back and push down onto the floor. And that's when you start to engage those muscles. I test it using a blood pressure cuff. I actually test people's core with that, and they've got to keep the pressure on. And we start slowly with those exercises, and bit by bit we increase it up to standing. So starting on the floor, right up to standing. But that's what I would say. It's not about doing sit-ups. Okay. You
Okay.
start with the lower abdominals, the bigger muscles, the side muscles, and then the upper muscles, not the upper muscles first. It's in a sequence.
So, do you have any videos or discussions that people could access
Yeah, I've got a
to
video. Yeah, I've
see
got
that?
videos on that showing you how to do that.
Okay. So, I'm going to put the link below so that people can access exactly how to do these really important exercises. Because
Yeah.
a lot of people, as they get older, sit-ups are not just going to solve the problem.
No, they're not because if you do sit-ups, the sit-ups are like the body of the car. You work in the body of the car. We want to
Mhm.
work the chassis of the car. We want to strengthen the chassis of the car. And you're basically training the brain. People say, "Oh, how many do I need to do?" And it's like, well, how long is a piece of string? You're retraining the brain to the muscle. Okay. So you've got to retrain the brain to the muscle, retrain the brain to the muscle. So it does take time, but I've successfully managed to help people re-switch on their core muscles, even where if they've had a cesarean or they've had a hysterectomy. One of the byproducts of it would be mainly they feel like they've got little like stabbing pains or they felt like they've gone back to surgery. And what it is because those muscles have been cut, they're trying to re-knit back together. So that would be only a byproduct of it where they would feel some tingling or they might feel a little bit of pain around the area. But you've just got to keep going. You've got to keep moving through it because then it will ease off.
So, what you're really doing is not just training your body and your breathing, but you're actually changing your neural pathways.
Yeah, yeah. Because we
Okay.
do drop sarcomeres as we get older. So we want to be able to neurons. So we want to be able to build those pathways, same as metabolism. You've got to build the pathways to be
Mhm.
able to go forward. You've got to build those pathways with everything. And this will support menopause because your body will be stronger and the nutrition, everything works better because the core's working, the gut stem's working better, the nervous system is calm, and everything works well. And so I think with some of you other speakers, I think that really will complement what they're already doing.
So, when you give a message to people in their 40s and 50s and beyond, you even said you're working with people in their 80s. What would you like them to hear?
I would say and I'm just going to be talking about just generally, it's about working smarter, not harder. So doing more doesn't necessarily mean to say that you're going to get a better result. Going to the gym and doing step ups and boxing, if you're already exhausted, it's not going to work. It's about listening to your own body because you're the one sitting inside it, nobody else. You're the one sitting in your body. Nobody else is sitting there but you. So it's really about understanding that, listening to your own body and having quality of movement, quality of things, and doing one or two things and then cementing those things. And once you've got them down pat, move on to the next thing. And this is where because you can only go on motivation for so far with a hiss and a raw. It's about really taking responsibility and just doing one or two things and cementing it as a habit.
Okay. So, you're actually maybe habit stacking your
Yeah,
movement in the day.
yeah.
So, what time of day do you think is really optimum for people to exercise in this way?
I think the thing is with these inner core work, it's not really exercising as such because you're training your brain. Okay.
Okay.
So you need to be on the floor. You can't do it on a bed. But the best time would be the thing is, when it comes to research on exercise, some people are morning people, some people are evening people. I don't think there's really any time of day what works with you. And because I think as women, especially when we start to get to 40s, 50s, 60s and beyond, we're always spinning plates, trying to put everybody else forward before ourselves. So I think it's really about being able to stick with it. So finding a time, but because say for instance if you were doing something like stretching it would be after you have a shower before you get into bed, before you go to bed do stretching and then go to bed. So I think it's just really about timing it, what will work for you. And if it doesn't go right the first day, just and you fall off the horse, just get back on it and keep going, right?
And forgive yourself,
And forgive
right?
yourself because this is a journey, it's not a destination.
And menopause is a journey because you
Exactly,
get
it's
to
just one of those
postmenopause
things.
eventually.
Exactly. You can't really do anything about it. It's about getting your body to work for you, not against you. This is what all this is about. It's about getting your body through education, understanding what will work for you as a person, and getting your body to work for you, not against you. So that then it says, okay, I'm all right, I can come out now. Okay. And then it starts to work with you. So just starting small and then building on that. And
Oh, that
quality, not quantity, when it comes to
quality, not
exercise.
quantity. I love it. I love it. So I'm gonna add this into my routine. So thank you
Yeah.
for sharing that. And you have made it incredibly easy to remember by using that wonderful car analogy. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.